difference could this make in reality?
Well, there's some really positive news because President Zelensky is understandably be trying to get air power, modern Western air power, to be a match for the Russians over Ukrainian territory. Unfortunately, all the Ukrainians have had up till now is old Soviet kit, and they've done a great job. But I think the Ukrainian Air Force had about 140, maybe 145 fighters. They've lost as many as 60 so far. And the Russians really have dominance. So what this should do is help balance that score a bit. But inevitably, don't see this as a silver bullet. These F-16s, I was lucky enough, I was a fighter pilot myself. I was lucky enough to fly one of the Dutch F-16s back in the 90s. They're an amazingly capable aeroplane, but they're getting quite old now. The Dutch were planned to phase these F-16s out of service in the middle of next year. And of course, like any old car, these aircraft are going to be less reliable, and it will be utterly dependent on what weapons that the West gives them. But if the Ukrainian pilots can master it, and if they can sort out the spares and the weapons, they'll certainly be a match for most of the Russian Air Force that meet them over the skies of Ukraine. So it's a positive step.
And what does this mean, though, Sean, for, I suppose, the involvement of NATO countries? Because this would be quite an overt involvement, actually, from NATO.
Well, listening to your intro, I think we've got to be quite careful. I don't think there's any suggestion that Western pilots are going to be involved in actually flying these jets in combat zones. That would be putting combatants into the fight, and so far there's been no appetite from NATO or any of the Western allies to do that. They will be running the flying training schools. Denmark has very kindly offered to help train, and there's 11 nations that club together to help do the comprehensive training that will be required, not only for the pilots, but also the maintainers and the engineers and the armorers as well. But to date, that won't be an escalation in terms of Western pilots flying. As a former NATO pilot myself, I think the West would relish the chance to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine, but that would have serious escalatory issues associated with it. And to date, the West is not prepared to do that.